Hey everyone, it's ya boy Artsy H back at it again with another video after a while of not uploading. Sorry, I was holding my mic up to my mouth just then. If it sounds like these are the first words that I'm saying in the morning, it's because they are. Today we have a doozy. We have a good one, if you will. Today we are going to be discussing I cannot speak. Today we're going to be discussing autism. I am autistic, in case anyone was wondering. And this video is kind of gonna be a mix of both general talking and personal experiences, and of course trigger warning for ableism. Now let's get into it. I was professionally diagnosed with autism. Of course, if you do enough research and all that jazz, there's literally nothing wrong with self-diagnosis as long as you're not just, doing it for attention and all. Because that's a thing people do for some reason. I don't even know, man. So, why am I talking about this? That might be a question some of you are asking. This is a thing that I wanted to talk about for a while. Also, I just need to vent about personal experiences as an autistic person and what I've had to deal with just internally and externally. Also, the speed paint that you're watching right now is kind of old. I am aware of that. I don't even use Sketchbook anymore, which is odd. Medibang paint is very good, but very annoying sometimes because of the banner ads and everything, but it's very good. Honestly, kind of better than Sketchbook. I am getting so off track right now. Anyway, so a few years ago I was diagnosed with ADHD and autism, and of course, an anxiety disorder. These are things that I've had to deal with my entire life, obviously, and I'm not saying that being autistic and having ADHD is inherently a problem. It's the world that we live in that's a problem. Obviously, I was kind of surprised, but not really, because I didn't really understand what it meant, because I was diagnosed with Asperger's. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, I literally do not give a single shit, because, fuck that doctor that the condition was named after. In case you don't know, this doctor, Asperger's, I know that's Asperger. It's a really funny name and it's definitely pronounced different, but I just like saying Asperger because, epic funny moment. But he was a doctor, quote unquote. He didn't really do anything other than get a condition named after him. He literally took autistic children and did just honestly disgusting thing to them, which include killing them because they were a burden to their parents. This is something that I guess the doctor community a few years later, after like World War II and stuff, didn't really recognize. So they were just like, oh, so we're gonna be like real gatekeepy for a sec and make autistic, which is a bad thing, being autistic is a bad thing, everyone knows that, and having Asperger's be two different things. Now that's honestly what I grew up knowing. And I mean grew up, like after I got my diagnosis when I was, I think, 10 or 11. So my dad he came up to me and was like, yeah, you're on the autistic spectrum. That does not mean you're autistic, it just means that you have Asperger's and you're like less autistic than other autistic people. For a while, I didn't really know what was inherently wrong with that statement because, in my brain, autistic just equal bad, I guess. But now that my dad has told me about his personal experiences with autistic people when he worked with an autistic kid who was very severely disabled, I guess it kind of makes sense why he would think that. But at the same time, it really damaged my thinking, and I didn't really look into the eyes of, me being autistic. I just denied it for a very long time. But obviously, after getting into psychology and all that stuff, I did a lot of research and realized, hey, wait, this, I'm still autistic, So that was my realization moment, and I think that was one of the best moments in my entire life because I got to understand why I was the way that I was more than any psychiatrist ever told me. It was the internet, it was the community, if you will. Now, talking about the autistic community and just the neurodivergent community as a whole, they're amazing. These are the people that I got acceptance from and made me actually realize who I was, just like I did earlier with my queer identity. So that's pretty cool, I guess. But let's talk about autism acceptance real quick. Okay, so you might know Light It Up Blue. You might not, because that makes sense. It's not as universal as in Iceland, for example, when we have Blár Apríl, which means Blue April. And that is literally everywhere, and obviously it's not as bad as it is in the States, but it's still kinda iffy. It was watching those videos that kinda made me think that I wasn't autistic because it was very built off of stereotypes. I'm not entirely sure if they've gotten any better. The only positive Icelandic autistic representation is the movie How Titanic Became My, lifeboat. It's a really good movie, you should probably see it. It's partially in Icelandic, partially in English. And there are subtitles, I think. You can get them somewhere. I don't even know if it's on any, if it's on a place you can watch it, if it's on YouTube or anything. I literally don't know, I just saw it on TV. And I think that's the most diverse and definitely the most positive representation of autism we have in Iceland. That being said, literally the ableism I've had to endure is probably not as bad as a lot of people with more severe and more visible conditions like Tourette's or something similar. But I don't have Tourette's. I don't have any visible disability. So I am aware that I am very privileged, and I pass when I'm trying to pass as a cis white guy who is abled, because people don't really think about, you can't see if someone's autistic. So I'm very happy that I'm relatively passing as a cis guy, even though I don't really want to because it makes me dysphoric as fuck. But obviously passing as a straight cis white guy who doesn't have any disability is a very big plus. But that being said, I talk openly a lot about disabilities, my personal disabilities, and other disabilities that I'm learning about at the moment. And my best friend, M, who is amazing, by the way, should, why did I I should probably cut that out of the video, but I'm probably not going to because I had a pretty big laugh editing that. But anyway, yeah, what was I talking about? Yeah, my friend M, who is also really big into psychology and has ADHD as well. Like, we talk about that stuff a lot, but at the same time, I make a lot of autistic jokes at the expense of myself, or not even at the expense, just being like, haha, I do that because I'm literally autistic, and it kind of, comforts me. And some of my friends who aren't autistic laugh along to that, which makes me kind of happy, because knowing that they accept me for who I actually am is really nice, and that they accept me for the person that talks a lot about disabilities. So I remember this one time I was with one of my friends. We were on the bus and we had been on a trip, like with the church, which might sound kind of weird to some people, especially people who aren't Icelandic, but ferming is a really big thing here, like bigger than anywhere else, I would think, which is basically when there's a huge like party and this like huge ceremony because the person is 13. Might sound, or 14, just might sound kind of weird. It's when you're like letting people know that you are actually Christian and you have made that decision because you're old enough to. That was a sidebar, if I've ever seen one. Now, yeah, we were on the bus and I was talking to him, like my friend, about autism and like me being autistic, and obviously he's the coolest guy I know. We're still friends. And he was like, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. I don't really remember exactly what he said because what happened next literally just irritated me for the rest of my life. Now, that was not my first experience with ableism, but it was definitely like the most scarring, I would say. One of the most scarring. When I was like, I'm autistic, and some kid in the back overheard me. Let's just call him U, because his name started with a U, and that's gonna sound kind of funny because it sounds like I'm talking to my audience. So U was like, wait, you're not autistic? And I was like, yeah, I am. I think I know that better than you do. I don't even remember what I said. I was just in complete and utter shock at the audacity of this kid, but he started mimicking autism stereotypes and like, you're not like that, and started like putting his tongue out and flapping his hands, which is something that I personally do, and just making these noises, these very derogatory noises at me. And just like the plane that you might hear in the background, my heart literally just kind of sank, because that was not the first time that I had to endure something literally exactly the same. Now, I was in 7th grade, I think, maybe 6th, I don't remember, when I was in the cafeteria. And once again, I overheard some kids talking and calling each other autistic as like a derogatory thing, like, oh, you're oh my god, you're autistic, and blah blah blah. Are you fucking autistic and shit like that. And I said, like, could you not? I'm autistic and this makes me very upset. And instead of pulling the card, which is very common, the you're not autistic because I know that better than you do, even though I literally don't know you, that card. Instead of pulling that card like the other kid did, these kids literally started doing the exact same thing as the other kid with the noises, like the noises and the rocking, and like they laughed, and that really hurt me, honestly. So obviously I've not really been subjected to any kind of physical violence because of my disability, like some people have, but it's still shit that like really stuck with me. And yes, I have definitely been subjected to a lot of ableism. Now back to Light It Up Blue, or Blár Apríl. Light It Up Blue is originally from Autism Speaks. If you don't know that name, then I'm sorry for kind of ruining your life, but also kind of not sorry because everyone needs to know about this. Autism Speaks is a disgusting organization that treats autism like a disease and is hurting autistic people as we speak, physically and mentally, and treating it like it's some sort of disease that needs to be cured. Obviously, autism is a neurological condition. It is not a disease. It is not something that ruins a parent's life. Obviously, it's more difficult to raise an autistic child than an allistic child, aka someone who's not autistic. But at the same time, it's like, please don't do that. So, Light It Up Blue is Autism Speaks doing. And I was talking about this with my mom, and she was like, oh, Blár Apríl isn't the same thing because, we're not in the States. But at the same time, I was like, the color blue and like the autism awareness kind of feeling is all from Autistic Speaks. Probably in every country. You may correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Autism Speaks who came up with the whole blue thing. So obviously, a lot of autistic people and people who aren't autistic but personally know someone who is, or people who are, or just people who are allies, literally were like, hey, can we not do that? So what they did was make red instead. And red instead is like we're standing up against Light It Up Blue, because Light It Up Blue is very harmful to the autistic community, and we need to spread autism acceptance, not awareness, because awareness is like, oh, this thing exists. I apologize for running out of footage, so you can just look at pretty art while I'm still talking. I'm gonna have to make a part 2. This video's way too long. Bye bye.